Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to another episode of In Defense of, the show where I, your host, Ryan the Indie Nerd, takes on a topic that is either hated or disliked or controversial in the world of wrestling, whether it's a match, a gimmick, a person, or anything in the world of wrestling. Today's topic is going to be leaving the WWE. And this isn't if you are fired or if you retire. This is more of you leaving on your own, much in the same way as Dean Ambrose, now Jon Moxley again, let his contract expire and did not re-sign. Or in the case of Ty Dillinger, now Shawn Spears, asked for his release and was granted. We're going to look at why more people, or maybe even just certain people, should ask for their release or not re-sign with the company. Now, most people would think, why would anybody want somebody to leave guaranteed money or a guaranteed spot on a worldwide international television contract or television company? And we're going to get into that a little bit, because as of right now, the WWE, their roster size is too big. Now, a lot of these guys and girls have worked their asses off to get to where they are. Many of them have dreamed of this, I'm sure, of being a top star or being a star in some way in the world's biggest wrestling company. With that being said, in 2019 and in the future of wrestling, WWE is not the be-all and end-all of wrestling. There are so many other companies out there that are putting on better quality matches, that are putting on amazing shows, that are doing things for their wrestlers that many companies should be doing. Most importantly, the number one company in WWE should be doing. And we're going to look at why I believe, and maybe at the end of this video, why you will believe that other stars should start taking their ball and going home, or just going to another court altogether. Now, when you think of wrestling, you're mainly thinking of WWE. If you're somebody who looks at other promotions, you might be thinking Impact Wrestling, formerly TNA, Ring of Honor, New Japan, and of course now AEW. But there's a lot of other companies out there. There are little promotions that are all over the United States, all over Europe, all over Asia, all over Canada, Mexico, pretty much any country you can think of, there are promotions out there. And with that being said, you have a little more control out there of where you want to go if you are a bigger name. Look at the case of the Young Bucks, the elite in AEW, including Adam Page, Kenny Omega, and Cody. These guys, when they decided to leave Ring of Honor, leave New Japan, and start up AEW, they decided that they were going to have control. They wanted to make sure that they were able to control what was going on in their wrestling lives. Now, once AEW picks up their normal weekly television schedule in October, it sounds like most people are not going to be wrestling with other indie promotions. But since they have signed these deals, they have been able to go to other promotions and show off what they are. You had surprise appearances by the Bucks, by Cody, by Brandy, by Kenny even, at different promotions all across the United States at random times. Even in Mexico, you had the Bucks coming down to AAA and winning the tag team titles over the Lucha Brothers, which made sense after a little bit of notice where AAA has a working relationship now with AEW. But the idea that these guys were able to go to other places and show off their craft automatically brought more eyes to that product. With Jon Moxley being at WWE, he's gone to All Elite Wrestling and automatically brought more eyes to their product. He went over to New Japan. He's competing in the G1. I know for sure that there are people out there that have tuned into the G1, maybe not live, but have watched it after it has been aired originally when recorded, and gone in and watched those matches that he was a part of, or even the entire show, just because they know the name Jon Moxley or know of what he has done previously based on his work in WWE. Now, Moxley's main concern that he brought up was he just wasn't having fun anymore. He wasn't loving what WWE had done to him. He didn't like the creative process. He didn't like not having that control anymore. And I feel like if you look at the WWE today, you can pick maybe a handful of people who deserve better. Off the top of my head, I can think of Sami Zayn, Cesaro, Samoa Joe, Rusev, and you could throw in, obviously, Sasha. You could toss in Asuka and Kairi Sane. You could throw in even, I guess you could throw in Nikki Cross even at this point. These are all people that are very talented wrestlers who have done stuff in other promotions. And when they do wrestle in the WWE, they have a huge fan base. Just a few years ago, Cesaro was one of the most over individuals in the entire company. And what did that get him? Getting brought into a tag team with Sheamus that was pretty successful. Then they broke him up, and it looked like they might do something with him. Instead, it just led to losses. It led to a very basic feud with Aleister Black that seemed very rushed, where it just led to a really good match, but overall a loss to Cesaro again, and no furthering of his character. With Sami Zayn, this is a guy who was the most over individual in NXT. Probably one of the most over individuals in NXT history. He worked his craft down there, had stellar matches, had one of the greatest feuds in NXT history with Kevin Owens, as well as one of the better feuds in NXT history with him and Neville, as well as one of the best matches in NXT history, the 2 out of 3 falls match against Cesaro. Since coming up to the main roster, he hasn't done anything of note. He's had a really good match against John Cena in his debut match on the main roster, where he got injured. Didn't do anything after that. He had a continuation of his feud with Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens won that feud, because of course he did. He, in the last year and a half, he had a feud with Braun Strowman that made him look like a joke. They turned him heel, which was, a lot of people thought this could be really good for him. He needs this. And he's done some of his best work on the main roster since going heel. but that led to a match at Wrestlemania just to put Daniel Bryan over. It led to a really stupid booking idea where Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens tried to go for the world title in a 2-on-1 handicap match. That didn't really make sense because if they won, they'd co-champion, which you knew the WWE wasn't going to do. Well, before injury, he had one of the worst feuds of all time in recent memory with Bobby Lashley, with one of the worst segments in recent memories, again, with Bobby Lashley. Since coming back from injury, he had a few really good promos coming back, showcasing just how good of a heel he really is, just how charismatic and how great he is on the mic. But he hasn't done anything. He's lost over and over again. This is a guy who, again, was one of the most over people in NXT, one of the biggest names on the indie scene as El Generico. But he still hasn't won a title on the main roster. He held the NXT title for under 2 months, I believe. And like I said, he came to the main roster. He's been up there for almost 3 years now and still has not won a title, while lower people on the cards have won at least a mid-card title. And it's somebody who can do a lot better for themselves. Imagine Sami Zayn leaving the WWE. Now, I'm not saying that he needs to do this right now because I don't know what his personal situation is. I don't know if he is just there because he really loves WWE. But remember, this is a company who has dealings with Saudi Arabia, a country that he has tried to showcase why he doesn't support them or that deal. Is not allowed to compete in Saudi Arabia because the Saudi Arabians the Saudi Arabian government does not like people of Syrian descent, which Sami Zayn is. And it's a company that really has not done anything to push this guy to the next level. Now, he has done, obviously, everything that they have asked him to do. He's lost feud after feud. He has been the ultimate underdog. He has been the ultimate jerk as a heel. But they haven't done anything with it. They haven't let him go to that next level. They've never let him try to hold a title. And after 3 years of being on the main roster, maybe that should show you that that's what they think of you. They don't see you as somebody who can hold any title. They haven't even let him hold a tag title. Now, imagine if you are a wrestling fan and you hear that Sami Zayn has left. If you're a big Sami Zayn fan, you are interested in whatever he does next. Personally, I think Sami Zayn is easily one of the top 5 talents in WWE that is underused. And maybe we'll do a video on a later day about other talent that is underused. But the amount of people that know Sami Zayn, know what he's capable of, will be deadlocked on what does he do next. Does he go to the indie scene as Sami Zayn, or Wrestling Without the Mask, or does he make the big return of El Generico? The moment that happens, the internet will explode. Look at every time that the El Generico Pro Wrestling Tees site goes up, or the El Generico Twitter tweets something out. People go nuts. The wrestling news sites go nuts. They talk about it. They tell everybody what's going on because they are interested to see what is going to happen. And that's just a website or a social media account posting something. Imagine if the real deal happened. El Generico makes an appearance at PWG or AEW or Impact or Ring of Honor, people will immediately look at that product and they will be focused in because of that man. Another star, Cesaro, was again a big name on the indies. Imagine if Cesaro left the WWE. Again, people would look to see what he does next. What company will use him? Will they use him better than the WWE has? Again, this is a guy who the fans have felt should be a world champion. But they haven't even put him in a world championship program. At least not a singles feud for it. Or make him a number one contender. Sure, they've put him in matches that could lead to a number one contendership. Or a tournament that could put him in that. But nobody thought, well, Cesaro's going to make that run. He's going to win this tournament or win that match. He's never gotten that chance to. And again, he's getting up there in age. Maybe he's content with being in the WWE. But imagine the just name power alone that you would hear if Claudio Castagnoli came back to the indies. People would be locked in again. For somebody who maybe people wouldn't expect to bring the name value of somebody who's been used as a mid-carder. Remember, Jon Moxley was an upper mid-carder to a main event star when he left. Somebody who's a main eventer, a big name wrestler. Think of Sasha Banks. A lot of people have been speculating over the last few months since the Mania loss that her and Bayley faced that she might try to leave the WWE. She hasn't been seen on TV since. And imagine if Sasha Banks left the WWE and went to AEW or Impact or Stardom. The amount of people that might tune into those programs is off the charts. I don't think a lot of people in America who look at other companies in wrestling, I don't think Stardom is on a lot of people's radar, mainly because I don't think a lot of people are too focused in on all female promotions. And the reason I think that is because I think most people are so used to promotions having a women's roster on it, whether it's the Knockouts division in TNA and Impact, the Women of Honor's division in Ring of Honor, or now the women's roster on All Elite Wrestling's roster. The only major roster that doesn't have that is New Japan, and I don't think a lot of people realize that in Japan there's all women's promotions that are really, really strong, like Stardom. And even in the West, in America, in North America, there's Shimmer, who has raised a lot of women's wrestlers that have made it to the big leagues of wrestling. Would be a lot more eyes if somebody like a Sasha Banks, even a Bayley, if for some reason she left, or even Nikki Cross, who clearly on Raw and SmackDown, whenever Nikki Cross is in a match, you do hear the crowd cheering for her. They want Nikki to get some sort of push, but she seems like she's in this very confusing state right now. She's playing somebody who comes out and acts like she's still the Nikki Cross from NXT, but then once she is booked to talk or do any interaction with other wrestlers, she's this person who's just, I'm Alexa Bliss's best friend. That's not what Nikki Cross is supposed to be. Nikki Cross is supposed to play this unhinged lunatic who you don't know what they're going to do next. And unfortunately for the last few months, you do know what she's going to do next. She's going to help Alexa Bliss because she thinks that Alexa Bliss is her friend, and for some reason they're sticking with that, and it's just a very bizarre situation. Imagine if Nikki Cross left. You might not get as many eyes as, say, Sasha Banks left, but I do think that there would be other people that would give a look at it. And the other two people that I really want to look at are Asuka and Kairi Sane, or the Kabuki Warriors as they're called now. Clearly, the WWE does not know how to use Japanese wrestlers properly on the main roster. We've seen it with Shinsuke Nakamura. We saw it with Asuka when she came up. And we're now seeing it again with Kairi Sane. These are three extremely talented wrestlers. Three wrestlers who easily are some of the best wrestlers in the world. Shinsuke Nakamura, when he came to WWE, was easily one of the top 3 Japanese wrestlers in the world at the time. Now he's a lower mid-card wrestler. He was hyped up so much when he came to NXT. He was booked so well in NXT that people thought, this is it. This is somebody who is going to translate very well on the main roster. Yes, there is the language barrier of Japanese and English, but he does speak some English, and yes, it's got that thick accent that he has, but so what? That shouldn't make or break your character just because you have an accent. Clearly, it doesn't work for whoever the higher-ups are in WWE because they just haven't booked him strong since he's gone to the main roster. He had a feud that many people thought could be the feud that elevated Nakamura to the main event when he faced AJ Styles at Mania. He won the Royal Rumble. It set up the dream match between him and AJ Styles, and it went nowhere. It was a bunch of matches that just made AJ look stronger and Nakamura look weird for having a thing for punching in AJ Styles in the balls. Since then, he was in a tag team with Rusev, and now he's the U.S. champion, and nobody cares about the U.S. title. Imagine if he went back to New Japan. More eyes would go back to that product. With Asuka and Kairi Sane, if Asuka went anywhere, more eyes will go to that product. Asuka is still one of the most beloved women's wrestlers in WWE, and she hasn't been booked very well since she's come up to the main roster. Yes, she has won matches, but she hasn't looked like the unstoppable force that she was in NXT. Obviously, you can't be unstoppable forever. It would be ridiculous to say that she should still be an unstoppable force, but she shouldn't look stupid ever. She is easily one of the top 3 women's wrestlers on the main roster today. But having her tap out in her first real solo match in WWE, first solo pay-per-view match against Charlotte, was stupid. Having her lose to Carmella multiple times was stupid. Having her look like she was afraid of her outfit being worn by somebody else was stupid. And now in this Kabuki Warriors role with her and Kairi Sane. Again, someone who so many people had so much high hopes for when she was in NXT. She looked great in NXT. People were so happy when she came up to the main roster, and they immediately put her into a tag team role in a division that nobody cares about. There have been 2 champions in the women's tag team picture. It was Bayley and Sasha as the first champions. At Mania, they lost it to the Iconics, and the Iconics have defended it once on TV, and that was in June. It is August. They've held the title since Mania in the beginning of April. It is ridiculous that they keep on pushing and pushing and pushing this feud against the Kabuki Warriors to the back burner, so that we almost forget that they exist when they are 2 of the best women's wrestlers on the planet today. Imagine if either of them left for a different company. People will watch the product solely because of who they are. That's why people shouldn't be so afraid of leaving the WWE. Yes, it is not the number 1 promotion if you go somewhere other than WWE, but it might be better for them to go somewhere else. Build up your name again. Become who you want to be, not who they are making you be. You can look to another promotion who is doing stuff for their wrestlers. Look at New Japan. They helped Will Ospreay find housing in Japan. Do you think the WWE is doing that for their wrestlers? Yeah, they might help them integrate to Florida for NXT, but they're not giving them money to go and travel to each and every location. There's no medical care for their wrestlers. There's no health care plans for them. They're still viewed as those independent contractors. And you can't really be an independent contractor where you can't wrestle anywhere one company that wants you to do. Look at AEW, who have said that they are going to make their schedule shorter so that the wrestlers can have more time off, not use their bodies to the extreme, and try to help them when they can with certain travel fares. WWE doesn't do that for all their stars. Maybe the top 1 or 2% of the wrestlers they do, but everybody else, they're on their own. Now, I know that people are going to say, well, look at all the support that the NXT people get. They're based at one spot. They're not traveling the country day in and day out, or traveling the world day in and day out. Yes, they go on these road shows where they do a few dates in a week or 2, but they're not going on these crazy long distance travels to back and forth all throughout the year. And if you're a company that's doing that, making your wrestlers go from one place to the next, they should be cared for more than just a contract and a pay stub. I do feel like wrestlers are starting to see that it's not all about the money. It's about their welfare, and it's about what other companies can bring to them, what creative opportunities they can bring for them. I do think we are going to see in the next year more and more wrestlers start to say, I've had enough with how the status quo is in WWE. And I hope that people realize that this isn't more of another Monday Night War like it was with WCW and WWE. I do think instead what we should see is who treats their wrestlers the best, who gives the wrestlers the best chance at not just surviving for the longest time, but who makes them the happiest, and not just with a paycheck. Who's making them happiest with their talent, who's making them happy with their creative decisions, who's making them happy with their longevity at the sport, and who's allowing them to just be themselves and have fun again. Now, like I said at the beginning, I'm not saying that every single wrestler who's in WWE that isn't doing amazing isn't happy where they are. I don't know what everybody's current situation is. I'm just suggesting that maybe a change of scenery isn't the worst thing. And just because you aren't in the number one company in the world for wrestling doesn't mean you aren't in the number one company for yourself. Thank you guys for watching another episode of In Defense Of. Please like and subscribe to our channel here on YouTube at Deep Six Wrestling. If you haven't followed us already on our social media, be sure to do that on Facebook at Deep Six Wrestling, and of course on Twitter at Deep Six Wrestling. Make sure that you guys leave a comment if you want to more ideas for our shows or an episode for In Defense Of. DM us, message us on Facebook. We do have some projects lined up for the future from comments or messages we have gotten from fans. So make sure you leave us a message, and we will try to respond as quickly as possible and see if we can do an episode on what you guys want. Thank you guys. I'll see you guys on the next episode of In Defense Of.